But let's kick things off. Thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time to come and view our webinar this morning. This one is going to be the first of our first series, part one, targeted towards home systems, but hopefully everyone can get something out of this. This does scale up all the way up to enterprise level solutions. We will be showing you CCTV done quick. I'm literally going to take you through how to set up a surveillance station and get a working simple system in over the course of the next roughly 35 minutes. I think quite a few of you have probably encountered me before at this point, but to those of you who haven't met before, I'm Les. I'm a product specialist here at Synology with a focus on surveillance. So you're in fairly decent hands this morning. And to those of you who haven't heard the spiel before, for you, Paul, nice to meet you Naz. Today's agenda. Firstly, I'm going to start off with just taking you through some installation prep. We'll talk about how to pick your cameras, how to select the right unit for you if you haven't already done so. We'll then go through the out-of-the-box setup, how to take it from here is a brand new NAS that I've just added to my network and logged into, through to here is a surveillance system that is actually useful as it is. We'll also go into how to set alerts and schedules just to be able to get at the crucial surveillance information, the actual events we want to see, and also how to reduce the data storage for blank space where there's nothing going on the camera, etc. And at the end, we'll also show you how to access the footage, and we'll talk very briefly about the backup options. Before we start, I just want to have a quick note on CCTV legislation, because we are posing this one at home users. It's well to be aware that you are required to tell people they're being recorded. Simple way to do that is to just get a CCTV sticker. In most circumstances, you will need to provide a recording. So that's why we'll show you at the end how to get the information out if someone does request it. We'll show you how to schedule automatic deletion of the footage. And also, of course, from that same menu, you can also go in and delete footage if you're asked to do so. And we'll also show you how to set up masking. So beyond your property, you don't need to be recording into like the neighbors or onto the general street. So show you how to set that up as well, so that that's realistically covering off the stopping recording if asked to do so. So in this first section, we're just going to go over the preparation steps, how to pick the cameras, how to pick an MVR or a NAS unit that will host the system, and other considerations that you might have during the setup. Oh, one moment. So with selecting cameras, do of course have to shout out our own cameras. They're fantastic. I could speak about them for half an hour. In fact, I did so last month. You can find the webinar on our cameras on our YouTube channel, which again, I'll post links for at the end. So the main sort of benefits for home installation for Synology cameras, just to shout about quickly. If you're not sure how many cameras you need, you might need 2, you might need 10. They are license free, so you can add them as you go. They also have people and vehicle detection as standard on them, so you don't need any other AI. They can offer those features if that's something you want to be able to quickly filter your footage at home. In addition to our cameras, we support 8,300 plus cameras over 100 brands. This includes all kinds of things like your ceiling fisheye cameras, your moving PTZ cameras, a few intercom systems. Don't ask me which intercom systems we support or anything like that. There are literally so many that I can't put my finger on any particular ones of them. But if you scan that QR code or you head to the address on the page, if you look at cameras, I advise people look at the cameras first, check if they're compatible, and then you should be good to go once you find one that you both like and is on the list. You can also repurpose an old phone. So this is a function that I think is really cool. We try and support as many old devices across Android and iOS as possible. The list isn't 100% exhaustive, but this is literally a case of you scan the QR code there, it will take you to the store to download the app, and you log in to the app. It's a simple one-stage login process, and then that camera is added to your Synology network and is acting as a camera for you. So just a quick way of recycling some old gadgets and saving a little bit of money. Once you've chosen the cameras, and I do suggest that you start with the cameras, the next stage is to choose the unit. Now, Surveillance Station is supported across all of our devices, right from the very basic DS120J, that's a single bay budget range NAS drive, all the way up to our advanced analytics 1622s and also our enterprise level devices. It's supported across all of those platforms. There's definitely going to be something for you. But it can be a bit of a nightmare to figure out which device is going to be best for you. To that end, I recommend you start with these questions. How many cameras are you going to need? How long do you want to keep the footage? And this is why we say to start with the cameras. What settings are the cameras going to be providing footage in? And with that information, it's much easier to choose your unit. And as I say, you have everything from our J range, all, one bay systems, all the way up to our HD 6500, which has 60 bays and supports up to 175 cameras. And at the initial stage, I recommend taking a look at the NVR selector on our website. Again, QR code there to take you there, or just take a quick look at the link that I provided. And I'm going to go into a bit more detail about how the NVR selector works. It's a little bit simplistic, but it's easy to use, and it is very, very powerful to get an idea of what kind of kit you're looking at. So in the top section, you can see it's going to ask you for the number of cameras that that you want to add onto the system, how long you want to store it, how long you're recording. Now, if you've got a 24-hour business site, you want to be recording 24 hours. If you're a home user or you have a business that's sort of closed overnight, you might want to set it so that it's recording during your core hours or the hours that you're not going to be at home. But set it to only record motion events when it detects something moving for the other hours. When it comes to NVR selector, I usually say take whatever hours you think it's going to need to be constant, and then add an extra 2 hours onto it to give it 2 hours of motion recording. There's also the obvious things like the resolution of your cameras, and the frame rate. For frame rate, we recommend minimum of 15 inside and 20 outside. The other functions, just they are the video format. If you've already selected the camera, you can probably get that information from the manufacturer, the same with the bit rate. And HDMI outputs, just so you know what that is, that's a case of whether you need to log into the NAS through like a mobile phone or computing device, or whether it's a unit where you can literally just plug in a monitor with an HDMI cable, plug in a keyboard and mouse, and manage the whole system from there. Those tend to go down really, really well in things like shops, etc., where you just have the box at the side of the counter and then your CCTV screen, and you can control it all without needs for any other devices. But that's what that one means. And with this information, it will then tell you a few useful bits of info. It will tell you the total amount of disk space that you need, so that you know which capacity of drives you want to go for. And it will also tell you the network bandwidth. So you should be able to tell from that if that's going to make your network struggle a little bit. If you do start to push the boundaries of your network, you just might notice a little bit of stuttering in the applications. It's not the end of the world. And then further down, it will recommend starting with the most highly recommended and then decreasing. It will recommend devices based on your requirements. It'll tell you the maximum number of devices that you can connect to the unit, the maximum amount of storage capacity. It'll tell you the total frame rate over the total frame rate across all of the devices. So if I have 10 cameras recording at 15 frames per second in 1080p, then that would be 150 frames overall, if that makes sense. And it will also tell you for larger installations how many of these devices you'd need for the number of cameras. So if you want to put in sort of 300 cameras, it might say, hey, you can have 2 of this device or 3 of this device. And the last thing it will tell you is how many additional licenses you need. Most of our devices come with 2 licenses. Our DVA units come with 8. With that out of the way, let's cover some of the technical stuff, the out-of-the-box setup. I'm going to show you how to install Surveillance Station itself, add a camera, add a map, and how to set up the display for it. One quick note though, especially for home use systems, you're going to want to grab the DS Cam or Live Cam app, QR codes that will take you to the App Store for these. This is the app that will allow you to monitor the system from wherever you are on your mobile phone, and has all of the standard features that you would expect from such a platform. You can AirPlay from your phone to a screen for a larger view while you're out and about. If you have a two-way intercom system, you can use the audio through your phone to communicate with that. And you can also use the smart searching tools to very quickly get to the footage that you need. Before I run into the demos, I'm noticing that questions are piling up. I'll get to those questions at the end. If there's anything wrong with the stream or anything, by all means, let me know in the live chat, but Q&A, I'll fix those at the end. But let's begin with our first demo. I'm going to take you through from a new NAS how to actually install Surveillance Station and get up and running. So this is my new NAS. And in just a second, I'm going to log in. These are pre-recorded just to avoid any hiccups on the day. As you see, my C2 password remembers my password from when I set it up earlier. And this will take us into the main Synology UI. I'm just going to go into Package Center. This is my favorite thing about Synology. All of these applications that you see here, absolutely free to install and play with. So with the exception of email accounts needing licenses, everything's free to have a play with. So there's probably a software solution for any data-related tasks that you can just install. It's worth at least having a look at to see whether it will help you. But I go down to Surveillance Station and I just select Install, and it'll begin buffering that for us quickly. And in just a second, it'll ask me to confirm a few settings. All right, so in a moment, it'll ask me if I want to put this onto a dedicated website. If I had like a security business, if I wanted all my operators to log in, I could set that there. But no, I don't need to do that. I'm just going to select the default settings and I'm going to say done. This process took about 2.5 minutes, so I won't put you through that 2.5 minutes. This webinar was long enough without it. So we'll just cut ahead to when that's already installed. And you'll see that now the Surveillance Station reads open. Now, while I can open it from there, I'm going to be using Surveillance Station fairly regularly. So I'm going to go into the All Apps bar at the top, scroll down to the Surveillance Station. You can see it's new and sparkly there. I'm just going to click and drag that onto my desktop to add that there quickly. And now when I log into my Synology drive, there's a desktop link. I just click on that. And after a few seconds, it takes a little bit longer the first time just to sort of rejig itself. You'll see in just a second, we have the wonderful Surveillance Station dashboard, which is ready to go with setting up your cameras and building a system that will work for you. With that in mind, let's get going with setting up the cameras. So in this demo, this is a slightly different environment. I'm going to go into my Surveillance Station again. And I'm just going to go into IP camera. As I said, this is a different demo environment, so there's a couple of cameras already here. But what you'll do to add any more is just go to Add. This will scan your network for any cameras that are visible to it. I did a previous webinar on the cameras where I cover if you want to scan on additional networks, so feel free to go and check that out. But once I've found the camera that I want, I'll select Next. If the camera's got authentication locks, it'll prompt me to enter the details there, but this one's fine. I'm just going to select Quick Setup. I can review, I can change these settings at any time, but when I'm happy with it, I'm just going to select Done. And as you can see, that's all it takes. We're talking around about a minute, and there's a camera that's been set up. Now you can do that in bulk for as many cameras as you like. If you're talking extreme bulk, we'll be covering in the third part of the series how to bulk import cameras from CSVs. Once it's set up, I can go into the device and I can change any of the default settings. I can change the streaming quality or the frame rates from there. And I can also, what I'm going to do is, this is the test system, is I can go into the recording settings. And I want to keep the footage for a little bit less just to save some space on this one. So I just set that to 3 days. With the camera set up, of course, repeat that for as many cameras as you have. The next stage is to set up a map. Now, the map functionality is just simply an image file which you lay the cameras over, which acts as like a more intuitive way of reviewing a security system and just allows you to sort of navigate it in a more sort of intuitive way. I'll show you how to set this up now. And all I've done really is grab a quick image file from the Rightmove page for when I moved into that property. And what I'm going to do is in the maps menu, I'm just going to go into add an image map, give it a quick name. And this next bit, you can't see it on the camera, but when I click browse, this just opens up my pictures folder. And I just select the picture of the map. It is just a simple image file and select OK. And you'll see it brings up the map there. Now that I've got the layout, I'm just going to select the edit function there on the right-hand side, and you'll see that towards the left, all of the cameras that are connected to my system are already available. And I can just click and drag them into place on the map. Even while I'm playing about with the map, I can view everything in real time. So I drag all of my cameras into place, one at the front, one at the back, and the third one in the living room. All fully visible from the editing menu as we go through, and just check that all of the footage is correct and these are the right cameras for the right places. And then I can start editing how they're displayed. So there's a circle function for 360 cameras. You can adjust the angle that the lens is pointing in. And if you've got wide angle lenses like our Synology cameras, then you can adjust the angle to be more representative there. That one in the living room is actually a PTZ or moving camera, so it can cover all 360 degrees and we can represent that as well. Once you're done with the map, you just click save and then that can be added to your monitor view. With that out of the way, let's cover the monitor views themselves. This is where you're going to spend most of your time when you're actually viewing the system itself. And again, it's one of the strong points of the system. It is very, very intuitive, powerful and easy to use. We're going to go into the monitor center here. Here's a view that we already had set up, but I'm just going to set up a new one quickly and have as many of these views as you want. Just give it a quick name. There you go, surveillance layout. Mike having issues with seeing the live feed. What you should be seeing at the moment is some CCTV footage. As I drag and drop more into place, you just have your footage and cameras on the left. You can just click and drag them into place. This is my favorite one here. Bit of stock footage from our HQ. I think they walk a little bit differently over there. Could someone let me know in the chat if anybody else is having issues with the video feed? And we can also drag our map over. And it makes a bit more sense when you're in here. Mike, try refreshing the, see if you can drop out and drop back in, sir. That's the best I can recommend. So as you can see, with the map functionality, you've got the logical layout of where your cameras are. If you click on the little thumbnails when you move over them, you can full screen the map functions. So it's just another quick, easy way for navigating between all of the camera systems. You can also drive alerts so that those will pop up in red. So in a larger scale installation, perhaps you've got security personnel who are monitoring a building, just makes it nice and easy to know what's going on. Yeah, I think that the bottom left was a bit jittery when I received it. Now, the more observant of you might have noticed the top left one, which is the only real camera which is on display at the moment, has a little bit of black boxing going on there. That's the masking feature. For home use scenarios, it is very useful to be able to mask off areas that are going off your property. In a more corporate environment, perhaps like in our use case scenario, you have actual working desks that are on display and you don't really want to be recording that footage. It's very, very easy to set up masking. I'll just go through how to do that now. Now, I will preface this. You can do this. You can go in and edit the camera from monitor view, but I find it better to go into IP camera. Just a personal preference, but you select the camera and you select edit. And under the security tab, you'll find enable privacy masking. And it will add one mask by default. You see the plus minus there to add or remove blocks, but I'm just going to click and drag it into place, and it is really that simple. Just block out that window there. And when I'm happy with my mask, I'm just going to click OK. So now if I go back into monitor view, just a second. I'm going to pull up that same layout from the last demo. I'm sorry, I love that footage. And you'll see towards the right-hand side that mask is now in place for all of your views. Okay, very quick recap. So far, we've taken you through the process of identifying the cameras in the system that you want, and we've taken you through how to actually add the cameras, set up a map, and build a UI that's going to be intuitive for you to actually view it when you need to. Now we're going to take us a second to look at how to set up alerts for events that you're interested in, how to set up scheduled tasks and events, and also how to configure the camera settings. Starting with alerts. So the system supports several different types of alerts. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go into the notifications menu, which is in the main menu. If I want to configure this regularly, I'm just going to add a shortcut for that. So we support email, SMS, and push notifications. It's fairly straightforward. Just put in who you would like as your recipients. So I would like to be notified myself. And I'd also like to send another copy through to UK sales. So I can put a prefix, which would be in the subject line, just so that I know this is a surveillance event if I have multiple emails coming from my Synology drive from other things. If you've got your own SMTP server, you're a business, it'll ask you for those settings. If you're a home user, you probably use one of the popular ones that we have listed. You just sign into Gmail or Outlook, whichever one it is. It'll bring up a window for you to log into the account that you'd like it to use to send the emails, and that's all you need. You can also set interval limits, so you don't get an email for notifications walking around your own house every minute when you're at home. We also have SMS, a little bit more complicated and more aimed at business users. But if you have a digital SMS provider, you can get them fairly cheaply if you're a home user. You can put in their details here and you can set up alerts to go to you via SMS message. And the last method is the push service, which uses the DS Cam app. It will push notifications to that. That's the app which we demonstrated at the beginning. As for the rules themselves, there's a rule for more or less everything. Huge granular level of detail. So things like if the recording is failing, I want to know about that through an email and SMS. I want to know about that immediately. I can go through things like if the camera loses connection. When I enter and leave home mode, I want to get a message on the phone app. I'll talk a little bit more about home mode in a moment. That's another really cool feature for home users. So really, I can tailor it by event, how I want to be notified. And I can also, when I go to save it, I can edit in batch and I can set a schedule for this. So I can set schedules by event. So if I want to have a different schedule for things like entering and leaving home mode to schedules for running motion detection, that's entirely possible. And I can then set this at a by camera level as well. So it gives you very, very powerful controls. If, for example, I don't want to have notifications for motion while I'm in the room that I'm trying to protect, I know that within that schedule, I am at home. Oh, needed to select the delete tool. So I don't want the notifications within these hours. It's just a couple of clicks for me to set that up. And once we're done, we just hit save, and that will apply notifications and scheduling for those notification events. But I'm also going to cover the recording schedules and a few of the camera settings. There's different your notification settings. This will allow you to sort of define when the cameras are running 24/7 and when they are just detecting motion events, or if there's certain times you don't want to record at all, you can also cater for that. So we're back in the IP camera menu for this one, and I'm going to select my my outdoor BC500 camera. I'm just going to edit that quickly. You can see the footage in real time. And I'm just going to go into the recording settings. So this is the one that I set that I only wanted to keep for several days, but I want to further reduce the amount of data that it's using. I know, for example, that after around about 9:30 at night, there shouldn't really be anyone sort of wandering around outside my house. Like, I don't need it to be recording just the darkness outside for all of that time. So until around about sort of 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm just going to set that to only record motion detection events. And it's really that simple to schedule that. You can also filter for people detection. And you can also set different streaming profiles, which is the default resolution that it displays in Surveillance Station or the phone app, depending on these events by camera. It's useful if you're going to be out using the DS Cam app with only sort of wonky 4G, 5G signal. I covered that in more detail in a previous webinar. I think it's the most popular one this year, which was CCTV for a home environment. Not to be confused with this webinar, similar, very different. Moving on now, we're going to talk about home mode and geofencing. Now, this is very much targeted at home use scenarios. Let's cover what home mode is. Now, as I showed you, you can set schedules for when the camera is constantly recording and when it is only recording motion events. You can also set alerts for different events, but you might want the system to behave differently depending on whether you're home or not. For example, I want to know if there's any motion in my living room when I'm not at home. But if I have notifications going to my phone for motion events and I nip home at lunch, I don't want to generate 30 ping messages to my phone. Home mode just allows you to set a completely different set of rules when home mode is switched on, which we can configure some pretty clever ways for it to know that you're at home. So, quickly show you how to enable home mode and how to configure it. Home mode has its own application, so we're going to go into the main menu at the top. And if we go into home mode, now you can manually click it on and off from there, and there's also a way to manually click it on and off from the DS Cam app. It's not the most intuitive way to do it, but it does work. If you want to manually turn around and say, I'm nipping home for a bit, I'll switch it into home mode, that's fine. You can also schedule it. So I can say, well, I know that I'm going to be home around about 5:30, and I'm going to be in my living room till around about 9:30 at night. That's when I'm in home mode, so just switch it on for those hours, and it will apply the home mode rules. I don't think that's the most intuitive way to do it. I'll show you a better way in a minute. But once it's enabled, you can tailor it to make changes to all of these features, things like recordings, the profile, and the action rules. And you can also determine it by camera. So you can have home mode only apply to your internal cameras while leaving your external cameras running by the default standards. So you can set different recording schedules. So if it detects that I'm at home, we're going to only have motion detection between these hours. And also, because someone keeps waking me up in the morning, I want to put people and vehicle detection on for those hours so that I can figure out who it is. There we go. And this is just a different layer. It's on top of the existing schedules. It takes precedent over them. And I can then set different alerts, which again take priority over the standard alerts when home mode is enabled. The same is true for stream profiles. So for example, I might want to only sort of stream it in 1080p when I'm away from home and I'm viewing it on my phone so that it's nice and quick to load that footage. But when I'm in home mode, I'm connected to my home Wi-Fi, then I'll have it in full 4K. Pause. Just one moment. This is the stream quality and not the recording quality. So you can have it recording in 4K if you have a 4K camera, but the live display in 1080p just to make it quicker to load and easier on your data plan on your phone. So that's just another ease of use feature that we have there. So how to set up the automatic enabling of home mode. This is where things get really, really clever, and it does, again, rely on the DS Cam app. No live video for this. I'm going to go through with screenshots. Unfortunately, I don't have a screen recorder on my phone at the moment. My phone's a little bit of a fossil, so I can't really do this. But it's fairly easy to set up, so we should be able to accurately demo this with screens. You're going to log into the DS Cam app as you would normally, just simply your username and password for your NAS and the Quick Connect ID. Once you are logged into the NAS, in the option menu, there is a home mode setting. In here, you can manually toggle it, but the thing with manually toggling is if you've got a memory like mine, you'll often forget. And I don't really want to leave my my house in home mode when I leave it and not have notifications for people about. So we can set up geofencing so that it knows when we're at home based on our devices. So there's two different ways in which this works. You can either define based on a particular Wi-Fi network. When you connect to your home Wi-Fi, then it will know that that means you're at home and will enable home mode. Or you can do it based on setting a GPRS location if your device supports GPRS. You just define a location. I've got the office address there, and it will know when your phone is in that location or your mobile device is in that location, then enable home mode. Now you can have, as many users as you would like connecting through DS Cam to home mode, so you can set this up for your whole family. Of the two options, just a quick tip, I recommend the GPRS option over Wi-Fi, just for the simple reason, I was once a security auditor. I don't have my phone switched to Wi-Fi on all of the time. I don't want to join the random Wi-Fi network at the pub. I don't even connect to the office Wi-Fi by default unless I'm actually doing something that needs it. So if your phone is going to not always be switched on for Wi-Fi, GPRS data, as long as you've got a GPRS signal, then that will be able to trigger it. Okay, moving on to the last section. This is just going to be a very quick overview of backup. We'll also show you how to view and export the data. Backup, I'll cover it now because I think it's important that you're aware of what's offered, but we'll be covering that in more detail in the second, third parts of this webinar series. So if you need to recover the footage, you just want to review it for yourself, or if you need to provide it for any reason, then you can come into the recording folder. I'm just going to demonstrate that now. And it's as simple as you'll have all of your recordings listed in that folder. You can just click play, and it will show the footage. I knew that there was a slide that had the sound on it. I really thought I'd got rid of that this morning. If I want to download it, again, I just download, and I can select which camera I want to download from, and I can also set a duration, which can even span days, give it a name. If I want to, I can give it a password, and it'll put it in a password-protected zip folder. And then I'm just going to click download. And depending on the length of your footage, it might take longer than this quick one that I've demonstrated here. But as you see, just within your web browser, if it's on the phone, that'll work in the same way as if you download something on your phone. It will go into the storage folder in Android. I'm not too sure of iOS because I'm unfortunately a Droid myself these days, ever since they got rid of the headphone jack. And just clicking on open the file will just bring it up as any download would. You can then enter the password, and that will be in a video format that is shareable with whoever requests it. Just showing off a few of the filters and functions within the menu now. You can filter by motion detection events. You can set bookmarks. This is driven by your alerts. You can set bookmarks for specific events and filter out that way. And if you have an AI system or you use the Synology cameras, you can also filter by people and vehicle events. Just makes it easy to skip over hours and hours worth of footage when nothing's happening, to go, oh wait, that's the person that I was looking for. That was the event that I want to see. All right, and the last bonus section, just want to cover quickly how to back up the recordings. There's two main ways in which you can back up off the device. The first one is through a combination of Archive Vault and Hyper Backup. Now, again, these Synology applications are free. You can use these to back up from one NAS to another NAS. So basically, if you have a break-in and then somebody actually picks up your NAS, I recommend concealing it as just some common sense there. But you could have another one potentially up in the attic, or maybe at a friend or family member's house. In the office, if you're lucky enough, they'll let you do that, and you can have it backing up your footage in real time from one to the other. Again, very, very basic strokes on this one. We'll cover it in more detail in the part 3, where we look at how to join to the mass surveillance systems into each other. It wouldn't be one of my webinars if I didn't shout out CMS. I love CMS. Basically, you can have up to 1,000 of these little devices in various places across the world and manage them all through one login, and also sort of share the footage between them. So very, very powerful. That's something that you gain access to by default for free within the kit. If you don't want to buy another piece of hardware, though, to back up from one to the other, we also have our cloud platform, which is encrypted end-to-end. So that means from the moment that it leaves the NAS to be uploaded into the cloud, it's already encrypted. We can't access it or do anything with it in any meaningful way. That's military-grade encryption, and is supported across all of the cameras that the base system supports. It's also quite affordable at the basic end. So if you just wanted that extra peace of mind that no one's going to come in and be able to take away your surveillance system with the recordings with you, just a basic plan, just 720p should be a decent resolution for anything that's sort of like in close range. As I'd imagine, most of our living rooms wouldn't be sort of acres and acres across. 720p should be fine. And if you just want 720p recording for events for 7 days, that is as low as around 1079 in euros. That's less than £10 per camera per year. So it's a little bit of extra peace of mind if that's something that interests you. And I think I've spoken about these cameras for long enough. So I'll wrap it up here. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining.